What book would you keep in the memory lane for future generations to look back on?
I have one favorite book of all times, other than, of course, the Bhagavad Gita. I have this book named The Life of Pi. It was made into a movie as well. The author's name is Jan Martel. The reason that book actually hit me because every time I read that book, it gives me new meaning to it, especially every phase of life. When I read it in my 20s, actually, I read it in my 20s first. It was so different because maybe the way I was looking at life. In my 30s, it sounded different. In my 40s again. And now recently, I watched this movie called The Flow. That totally reminded me of this movie. And I recommended it to a few people and I started reading it again. And this time, trust me, it's got a whole new meaning. That's my favorite book. Everybody should go and read that, or at least watch the movie.
What song would you keep in the memory lane?
Okay, I have this one favorite song, which is actually my message as well. This is way before I was born. Of course, Michael Jackson, one of my favorites. It is called In a Small Way. And I would like to read out a little bit of the meaning. I mean the lyrics. The chorus actually has four sentences. We may not change the world in one day. We may not make a big difference, but we can still do something today in a small way. It's all about making one step at a time. Everybody talks about it, but my MJ has told this a while ago. And one more thing, he had because we care, we love enough to share. Because we love, I know we care enough. This is something and also the song sounds a little sad, but it's actually not sad. You know what he says? In despair, we have better hope. So where does hope come from when we reach that phase? So these lines are really, really, really meaningful to me. I probably heard it like probably 2 decades after the song was made. But I've always been a Michael Jackson fan. And this one is forever my favorite because it has that meaning which I've lived my life with. Yeah.
What TV show would you keep in the memory lane?
Okay. There are quite a few. Um, when I was a kid, um, Powerpuff Girls. I wanted to be one of the Powerpuff Girls. And okay, other than I was a big time into animation, but then my times the animation was different. It was either Tom and Jerry or Popeye the Sailor or Powerpuff Girls. But then Powerpuff Girls says you got the power. You can do anything. So that kind of excited me every time. And probably as a teenager, well, I watched quite a few things, but then there is a 80s, 90s show, Full House, which actually shows the dynamics of a family. It shows whatever happens in life, people come together and things will go on. So that kind of made more sense to me. And otherwise, I was a bit of a sci-fi, alien hunting kind of person, like Star Trek and X-Files. They were the most exciting, you know, series for me as a even till I grew up, probably till my 20s and 30s. But lately, sorry, I've not had time to catch up with a lot. But then these ones, even when I get bored, I go back to it. It never bores you. Yeah.
What movie would you keep in the memory lane?
Movie. I'm not much of movies I just watch and go. But again, Life of Pi is a movie too, my favorite book. And I don't know. I used to watch a lot of because my dad's a historian. I watched a lot of like more or less like documentary types, independence, World War and stuff like that, and how people actually dealt with stuff. So those things are like more in my head than, more of the entertainment thing, because like that kind of like more made more sense to me. And like, yeah, I'm okay. I will watch a lot of movies, but then like, a few things stay in my head. I just watch it and forget it. That's it.
What piece of advice would you keep in the memory lane?
Okay. There was this incident that happened when I was in first year of college. 17. And you wouldn't believe, now I'm known for my, the girl with the smiley face. My smile is my trademark. But you wouldn't believe if I say till 17, I don't smile much. I used to be very grumpy. Only when I'm an artist, only when I get on stage, I perform and I smile. But otherwise, I was not smiling at all. On the first day of my college, like first day orientation, there is this lady who was the vice chancellor of my university. I studied in an all girls university. One of a kind, Rajamal P. Devadas, Dr. Rajamal P. Devadas. She said, if you don't smile, your face gets like longer and ugly. She actually said that in like my language in Tamil, which actually made more sense to me. But on the other hand, if you smile, your face gets round and pretty. I went back home that evening and I stood when I was brushing my teeth at night and I'm like, okay, wait, what did she say? Okay, I smiled. I don't know. I didn't smile. I smiled. I'm like, wow, I look pretty when I smile. You wouldn't believe that's the day I started consciously smiling from inside. It was not just a thing that I put on my face, but that one sentence that she told me. And she said, when you start smiling from inside, it's just not your face that is looking pretty. Your life will start looking pretty. And trust me, that totally changed my life. And that is like one message I would always keep in my mind. And I'm ever grateful to Rajamal P. Devadas. She was like, a mother to like thousands of girls that graduated from that university, including my parents, my mom, my aunties, everybody. And that is something which is so profound and, still exists in my life this many 30 years down the line.
What invention would you keep in the memory lane?
Um, See, I'm not that excited about like tech stuff because I have lived in era when we had like no computers. Television I first saw when I was like 3 years old or something. And then too, we did not have like, network. We didn't have like cable and everything. We had to like use VCRs. But something which I found like really interesting since I was really young, you wouldn't believe this is a very rare item, a compass. We lived in the hills. My native place is like the Nilgiri Hills, the Western Ghats, and we get lost a lot. We're playing around and all that stuff. A friend of mine, actually, he worked in the army. My mom's friend, and he's my uncle sort of thing. We used to live in. He gave me the teeny one, which I can like put it onto my thing, and he taught me how to read it, like how the north and how do you follow it. I don't know that like till date, I kind of trust me. I don't know. I don't need GPRS, and in Canada and some of the places where GPRS don't reach, I navigate with the maps, and I think compass and maps are the greatest invention, which actually move people around, not the latest. Like now, people don't move around without their phones, without GPRS, they're lost. But, the having a sense of direction is more like using your brain as the GPRS. So for me, that invention is something like I get so excited about it. I don't know if it works with the latest generation, but that's me.
Famous food in history would you put in the memory lane?
Mm, of course, Indian food. That's what we grew up with. But like I'm more of like, I'm from a family which is like vegetarian. And though I cannot handle spices now, but I'm so proud of the Indian, spices and the way like we give so much importance to how we like mix it and prepare things. There's this funny incident I would like to add here. The reason that made sense to me because we ourselves don't realize how amazing our culture and ethnicity is. When I was in Canada, my friend is a Canadian. She came to me and said, like, for the potluck today, would you be able to make sambar, which is like, the South Indian thing? I said, like, yeah, for sure. And then I said, like, can you just get me that sambar powder, the ready-made pack? So that like I can prepare it in the evening. And you know what she did? She went and she had like she's an excellent cook as well. She had the spice book which she read, and she came back to me. I was sleeping actually. She woke me up and she's like, Manju, listen, I have all these like spices. Can I like fry them, grind them, and give it to you? And I was like, wow. That is like the essence of how how much like we actually have value and in our tradition and in our cooking. So Indian food, I mean, you've seen like how far we've gone, like, and the whole world appreciates it. It's just not the spices. It's how we actually, I can just take a box and just mix something ready-made. That's also food. But then the aspect of having each one of the ingredients, frying them, powdering them, mixing them in the right proportion, that is something that makes it amazing. And I'm like ever proud of it. And now I can say like I'm an excellent cook and the best things I make are like obviously Indian food. And anybody that has it has like always complimented me, makes me proud. I like to cook it when I go abroad. So that's the best part about it.
What item in the past would you keep in the memory lane?
You know what? I was holding on to my journals um for a long time. But then like, we were like moving around and I had to like, get rid of them and turn them into probably electronic or whatever. But I always like to hold on to like my journals, my favorite artwork that I did, or my, thesis, like the original like print records, the one that I drew and then, did all the collection, cutting and pasting and stuff. And my paintings. Okay, I'm an artist because I did my interior decoration. I'm proud to say 30 years down the line, I still have my paintings in my room in my parents' place, hung on the wall. Like all the paintings that I did, like most of them, nib painting, glass painting, oil on canvas, all of them, I still have it there. And probably that's because it's one of my prized possessions. And the teddy bear that I made and the embroidery that I did, those are the kind of things that I hold on to, not like anything else. And one interesting thing as a girl, I love to collect bangles. I have like boxes of them in my house. Well, that is probably something, girls do, but then I love it, proud of it.
What trend in history would you keep in the memory lane?
Mm, there are a lot of trends happening, but okay, something that started, I mean, business wise and maybe like community wise, something that started probably hardly around 10 years or something like, the last decade. Sustainability. Sustainability, it's just not a word that is like, it's got a broad meaning, but then anything done in a particular way is sustainable, like even taking care of your garbage at home, your food, your whatever you have with you, or using it in business, or using it in community. That kind of is a trend I would love for it to keep continuing. There are a lot of trends that happen, there's a hype and it goes off and, people forget about it. At that point of time, people do all the TikToks and, all that stuff. But this is something I would want the world to continue because I mean the world should be excited about it. And everybody, as I said, do it in a small way. That should be something that would make the world a better place. maybe talking philosophically, but no, this is more practical. Do something a little bit as sustainable. It can be interpreted in a lot of ways, but sustainability is something, the most favorite trend I would think should keep continuing and not let go.